What if the reason nothing is working in your life is not because you're missing opportunities, but because you're missing alignment? What if the moment you stop chasing people, validation, and permission, and start focusing on who you are becoming, everything you've been praying for starts chasing you? Stay with me, because by the end of this message, you'll understand why focusing on yourself is not selfish, it's strategic. Most people are exhausted, not because life is hard, but because they are scattered. They are everywhere except where their power actually is. They are watching what everyone else is doing, comparing timelines, chasing approval, chasing money, chasing attention, chasing outcomes. And here's the truth most people never hear. Nothing responds to desperation, but everything responds to development. If you've ever wondered why you keep trying harder but seeing less results, it's because effort without focus is just motion, not progress. And today, if you listen closely, this message will save you years of confusion, years of delay, and years of unnecessary struggle. When you focus on yourself, you are not ignoring the world. You are upgrading your value to the world. The marketplace does not reward need, it rewards usefulness. Life does not respond to wishes, it responds to worth. And worth is built when nobody is clapping, when nobody is watching, when you decide to work on your mindset, your habits, your discipline, and your standards. The moment you elevate who you are, the environment around you has no choice but to adjust. See, most people want better results without becoming a better person. They want higher income without higher thinking. They want a better life without better decisions. But life doesn't work that way. Results are a reflection of identity. When you change the person in the mirror, the picture outside the window changes automatically. You don't chase confidence. You build competence. You don't chase respect. You develop skill. You don't chase success. You become valuable. When you focus on yourself, clarity shows up. You stop saying yes to things that drain you. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You stop negotiating with distractions. Focus simplifies life. It removes noise. It sharpens vision. And once your vision is clear, decisions become easy. The reason many people feel stuck is not because they lack options. It's because they lack clarity. And clarity always comes from commitment to growth. Here's something powerful. Discipline is self-love in action. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, your confidence compounds. Every time you delay gratification, your future accelerates. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you are telling life, I'm ready for more. And life responds to readiness. Opportunities don't come to the most desperate, they come to the most prepared. When you focus on yourself, you don't need to force relationships, force doors, or force outcomes. Alignment does the heavy lifting. People start respecting you differently. Opportunities find you. Conversations change. Rooms open up. Not because you demanded anything, but because your presence carries weight. When your internal world is aligned, the external world falls into order. Stop asking, why isn't it working? And start asking, who do I need to become? Because the moment you answer that question with action, consistency, and patience, everything you've been chasing will finally slow down long enough for you to catch it. Focus creates force because wherever your attention goes, your energy follows, and wherever your energy flows consistently, results are eventually forced to appear. Most people underestimate the power of focus because it looks quiet, it looks simple, and it doesn't feel dramatic. But focus is not passive. Focus is pressure applied over time. When your mind is locked onto one direction, one outcome, one identity, you are committed to becoming. Everything inside you begins to organize around that decision. Your thoughts stop pulling in opposite directions. Your actions become intentional instead of reactive, and your emotions no longer control your movement. The reason many people feel overwhelmed is not because life is too demanding, but because their attention is divided across too many distractions, expectations, and comparisons. Divided attention creates diluted power, and diluted power produces weak results, no matter how hard you work. Force is not created by speed. Force is created by consistency. When you focus, you are compressing time, energy, and intention into a single point, and pressure always produces movement. Think about how light works. Scattered light warms a room, but focused light cuts through steel. The difference is not the source, it's the concentration. Your potential works the same way. You don't lack ability, talent, or opportunity. You lack concentration. Every time you shift your focus because something is uncomfortable, slow, or uncertain, you release the pressure that was about to produce a breakthrough. Focus demands patience because results often show up after the discipline has already been applied, and most people quit at the exact moment force is being built beneath the surface. When focus is present, decision-making becomes easier because you are no longer negotiating with distractions. You don't wake up asking how you feel. You wake up aligned with what you decided matters most. Focus eliminates emotional randomness and replaces it with intentional momentum. This is why focused people appear calm, while unfocused people feel stressed. Stress is often the byproduct of too many open mental loops. Focus closes those loops. It gives your mind permission to ignore what does not serve the mission. And when the mind is clear, the body follows with precision. You stop wasting effort on things that don't move the needle, and the energy you once spent worrying gets converted into productive action. Focus also builds internal authority. The more you concentrate on developing one direction, one skill set, one vision, the more confidence you generate, not from motivation, but from evidence. Focus creates evidence. Each small action compounds into proof that you can be trusted by yourself. That self-trust becomes force because it removes hesitation. Hesitation is one of the biggest energy leaks in human behavior. When you focus, you eliminate hesitation, and when hesitation disappears, execution becomes faster, cleaner, and more powerful. You don't second guess every move because your direction has already been decided. The greatest enemy of force is distraction disguised as opportunity. Not every open door is meant for you, and not every option deserves your attention. Focus requires the discipline to say no to good things so you can say yes to the right thing. When you protect your focus, you protect your future momentum. Over time, this concentrated effort creates an invisible gravity around you. People notice opportunities align and progress accelerates, not because you are chasing harder, but because your focus is finally strong enough to create force. Self-development precedes success because success is not something you pursue, it is something you qualify for. Most people are chasing outcomes without upgrading the individual who is supposed to sustain those outcomes. They want more money, more recognition, more influence, but they have not expanded their thinking, discipline, or emotional capacity to hold those results. When growth on the inside does not match the pressure on the outside, success becomes temporary, unstable, or overwhelming. This is why some people reach a milestone and immediately sabotage it, because the internal framework required to manage that level of responsibility was never built. Self-development is the process of expanding your internal capacity so that when opportunity arrives, it feels normal instead of frightening. Every external achievement has an internal requirement attached to it. Higher income requires higher decision making. Leadership requires emotional intelligence. Visibility requires confidence rooted in competence. These traits are not gifted, they are developed. Self-development is the unpaid work you do when no one is watching, the intentional discomfort you choose instead of instant gratification. It is reading when others are scrolling, practicing when others are resting, reflecting when others are reacting. Most people want success to change their habits, but in reality, habits are what change success. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems, and systems are built through personal growth, not wishful thinking. Self-development sharpens awareness, and awareness is power. When you grow, you begin to see patterns you once ignored, patterns in your behavior, your relationships, your finances, and your mindset. You stop blaming circumstances because you can now recognize choices. Growth removes the illusion of victimhood and replaces it with responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is leverage. Once you accept that your results are connected to your routines, your standards, and your self-image, you gain the ability to change them intentionally. Without self-development, people repeat cycles and call it fate, never realizing they are rehearsing the same identity over and over again. Confidence is one of the most misunderstood concepts in success. Confidence is not loudness or charisma. Confidence is certainty built on preparation. Self-development builds that preparation layer by layer. When you invest in your mind, your skills, and your character, confidence becomes inevitable because you know what you are capable of producing. This is why developed individuals move differently. They don't rush, they don't chase validation, and they don't panic under pressure. Their calm is not luck. It is earned through internal work. Success gravitates toward people who are internally stable because stability creates trust, and trust attracts opportunity. Self-development also changes how you interpret failure. Instead of seeing setbacks as signs to quit, you see them as feedback. Growth trains you to ask better questions, not emotional ones. What needs to improve? What skill is missing? What belief is outdated? This mindset keeps you moving forward without being emotionally derailed. While others are discouraged by obstacles, developed individuals extract lessons and adjust strategy. Over time, this adaptability becomes a competitive advantage that no external factor can take away. Success then becomes less about chasing results and more about consistently evolving into someone capable of producing them under any condition. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are because life responds to alignment, not intention. Wanting is emotional, but being is energetic. Many people spend their lives visualizing outcomes while ignoring the identity required to sustain those outcomes. They say they want abundance, but they operate from scarcity. They say they want healthy relationships, but they carry unresolved insecurity. They say they want success, but their habits reflect comfort over growth. Life mirrors identity, not desire. Whatever patterns show up repeatedly in your life are reflections of the standards you tolerate, the beliefs you reinforce, and the version of yourself you rehearse daily, whether consciously or unconsciously. Identity is the most powerful magnet you possess. Your habits, language, posture, reactions, and decisions silently communicate who you are before you ever speak. Opportunities respond to that signal. People respond to that signal. Circumstances align with that signal. This is why two individuals can want the same outcome and receive completely different results. One has built the character, discipline, and mindset that matches the outcome, while the other is still hoping motivation will compensate for inconsistency. The world is not unfair, it is precise. It delivers feedback based on who you show up as consistently, not who you wish you were occasionally. When you change who you are, what you attract changes automatically. This is why chasing outcomes without upgrading identity leads to frustration. You can pursue money, but if your self-image is small, you will repel responsibility. You can pursue growth, but if your habits resist discomfort, progress will feel exhausting. Becoming precedes receiving. The internal environment must be aligned before the external environment can shift. This alignment is not mystical, it is practical. When your thinking expands, your decisions improve. When your discipline increases, your execution sharpens. When your emotional control strengthens, your reactions stop sabotaging your future. Relationships are one of the clearest reflections of identity. You don't attract people by what you demand, you attract them by what you demonstrate. The quality of your communication, your boundaries, and your self-respect determine the level of connection you experience. If chaos follows you, it is not coincidence, it is compatibility. If stability feels boring, it reveals an identity that is still addicted to intensity over peace. As you evolve, certain relationships naturally fall away, not because you rejected them, but because you outgrew the frequency they operate on. This principle applies to opportunities as well. High-level opportunities do not announce themselves loudly. They recognize readiness quietly. When you become someone who values time, preparation, and excellence, opportunities that require those traits begin to appear. Not because you searched harder, but because you became visible to them through your behavior. Your calendar, your commitments, and your consistency signal your identity more accurately than your words ever could. Transformation is not about pretending to be someone else. It is about removing what is misaligned. When limiting beliefs, undisciplined habits, and emotional patterns are stripped away, your true capacity becomes visible. As identity shifts, attraction recalibrates. The same environment produces different results because you are no longer the same person interacting with it. Discipline is a form of self-respect because it is the act of honoring the future version of yourself over the comfort of the present moment. Every disciplined decision is a vote for who you are becoming, not just what you feel like doing right now. Most people think self-respect is about confidence or boundaries with others, but real self-respect is internal. It is how you treat your own commitments when no one is watching. It is whether your actions align with your words. When discipline is absent, self-trust erodes, and when self-trust is gone, motivation becomes unstable. Discipline is not about restriction, it is about protection, protecting your time, your energy, and your potential from being wasted on impulses that offer immediate pleasure but long-term regret. When you practice discipline, you send a powerful message to yourself that your goals matter, your standards matter, and your future matters. This internal communication shapes identity. People who lack discipline often feel frustrated not because life is unfair, but because their behavior contradicts their ambitions. Every broken promise to yourself weakens your internal authority. Over time, this creates self-doubt, hesitation, and a lack of confidence that no amount of external validation can fix. Discipline repairs that damage by rebuilding integrity from the inside out. Each small act of consistency becomes proof that you can rely on yourself, and that reliability becomes the foundation of confidence. Discipline also removes emotional decision-making from your life. When you rely on feelings, your progress becomes unpredictable because emotions fluctuate. Discipline replaces emotional chaos with structure. It creates systems that operate regardless of mood, energy, or circumstances. This is why disciplined individuals appear steady under pressure. They are not negotiating with discomfort. They have already decided who they are and how they operate. Self-respect grows when you no longer allow temporary feelings to override long-term values. You stop asking what feels good and start asking what aligns with your standards. There is a quiet dignity that comes with discipline. It changes the way you walk, speak, and show up. You become less reactive and more intentional. You no longer chase validation because you are fulfilled by progress. Discipline teaches you to delay gratification, and delayed gratification strengthens emotional maturity. The ability to say no to yourself in the moment gives you the power to say yes to bigger opportunities later. Without discipline, potential remains theoretical. With discipline, potential becomes practical and productive. Discipline also influences how others perceive you, even when they cannot explain why. People trust disciplined individuals because their behavior is consistent. Opportunities flow toward those who demonstrate reliability, not those who make promises fueled by excitement. Self-respect expressed through discipline becomes visible in your punctuality, your preparation, and your execution. Over time, this reputation compounds, opening doors that talent alone cannot unlock. Discipline does not make life harder. It makes life simpler by reducing chaos, regret, and self-sabotage. When you respect yourself enough to do what needs to be done, even when it is uncomfortable, you create a foundation that supports growth. Clarity and long-term success. Clarity comes from commitment because indecision is the natural state of an uncommitted mind. Most people believe they need clarity before they act, but in reality, clarity is the reward for movement, not the prerequisite. When you hesitate, overanalyze, and wait for certainty, your mind stays crowded with possibilities instead of aligned with purpose. Commitment collapses those possibilities into direction. The moment you decide what you are willing to pursue consistently, confusion begins to fade. Not because every detail is revealed, but because your focus is no longer split. Commitment gives your mind permission to ignore distractions and concentrate on what actually matters. Without commitment, everything feels overwhelming, options become noise, advice becomes pressure, opinions become confusing. Commitment filters information. It tells your brain what to prioritize and what to discard. When you commit, you stop entertaining every idea and start developing one path deeply. This depth produces understanding, and understanding produces clarity. The reason many people feel lost is not because they lack options, but because they refuse to choose. They want guarantees before effort, but life only provides feedback after commitment. Clarity emerges as you engage with the process, not while you stand on the sidelines analyzing it. Commitment also reveals what is misaligned. Once you decide to move in a specific direction, resistance shows up. Doubt, fear, and discomfort rise to the surface, not to stop you, but to be addressed. This exposure is valuable because it highlights what needs to grow. Commitment acts like a spotlight on your internal obstacles. Without commitment, those obstacles stay hidden and continue to influence your behavior unconsciously. As you confront them through consistent action, clarity strengthens because you are no longer operating from avoidance. You are operating from awareness. When you commit, your standards rise. You stop negotiating with excuses because excuses do not coexist with commitment. This shift simplifies decision-making. You no longer ask whether you feel like showing up. You ask whether showing up aligns with your commitment. That single filter eliminates mental clutter. Your time, energy, and attention become organized around what you decided matters most. This organization creates momentum, and momentum sharpens vision. As progress accumulates, your confidence increases, and confidence enhances clarity by reducing self-doubt. Commitment transforms uncertainty into instruction. Mistakes stop feeling like failures and start functioning as feedback. Each action teaches you something new about your direction, your strategy, and yourself. This learning process refines your approach and deepens clarity. Without commitment, mistakes feel personal and discouraging. With commitment, mistakes are simply data points guiding adjustment. Over time, this iterative process creates precision. You no longer rely on motivation or inspiration, you rely on alignment between decision and action. Many people confuse clarity with certainty, but clarity does not mean knowing everything, it means knowing enough to keep moving. Commitment provides that momentum. It anchors you when emotions fluctuate and circumstances change. When you commit, you stop searching for perfect conditions and start creating functional ones. The mind becomes calm because it is no longer carrying the burden of endless possibilities. It is focused on execution. And as execution continues, clarity compounds, revealing the next step only after the previous one has been taken. Growth changes your environment automatically because the environment you experience is a response to the version of you that shows up in it. Most people try to change their surroundings before changing themselves, not realizing that the same mindset placed in a new location will recreate the same results. When growth occurs internally, external shifts follow without force. Your conversations change, your choices change, and your tolerance for dysfunction decreases. As a result, the environment either rises to meet you or quietly removes itself from your life. This process is not dramatic. It is natural. Growth alters your standards, and standards determine what you allow around you. As you grow, your perception sharpens. You begin to notice patterns you once ignored, how certain spaces drain your energy, how certain conversations limit your thinking, how certain routines keep you stuck. Growth makes you more selective, not arrogant. You stop participating in environments that no longer support your direction because they feel misaligned, not because someone told you to leave. This internal shift creates an external change. People often say they outgrew a place or a phase, but what actually happened is that their identity evolved, making the old environment incompatible. Growth also changes how others respond to you. Without saying anything, your presence begins to carry weight. Your communication becomes clearer, your boundaries firmer, and your behavior more consistent. This consistency creates respect. Some people adjust to your growth and evolve alongside you, while others resist it because it exposes stagnation. Neither response is personal. Growth is disruptive by nature because it introduces a new standard into an existing system. Environments are designed to maintain equilibrium, so when you change, the system must adapt or exclude you. Opportunities are a direct reflection of environment, and growth expands access to them. As your skills improve and your mindset matures, you naturally qualify for different rooms, conversations, and responsibilities. You stop being invited to what no longer serves you and start being considered for what aligns with your capacity. This shift is not about luck or timing, it is about readiness. Growth signals readiness through behavior, not announcements. People trust those who demonstrate development because growth reduces risk and increases reliability. Your physical environment often reflects internal growth as well. The way you organize your space, manage your time, and structure your day begins to mirror your priorities. Chaos loses its appeal. Efficiency becomes attractive. You begin to design your environment intentionally instead of tolerating it passively. This intentionality reinforces growth by reducing friction. When your environment supports your direction, progress accelerates. But the support comes after growth, not before it. Growth also alters emotional environments. Drama becomes exhausting. Negativity feels heavy. Complaints lose their entertainment value. You seek conversations that expand perspective rather than reinforce limitations. This shift may feel isolating at first, but it is actually clarifying. You are no longer trying to fit into environments that contradict your future. Over time, new environments emerge naturally, populated by people, ideas, and opportunities that align with the person you are becoming. You do not chase these environments. They recognize you through your evolution. Alignment makes life easier, not harder, because when your actions match your values, your energy stops leaking. Most struggle is not caused by effort, but by internal conflict. People exhaust themselves doing things that contradict who they are, what they believe, or where they are meant to go. When alignment is missing, every decision feels heavy, every task feels forced, and progress feels slow even when effort is high. Alignment removes friction. It allows momentum to flow naturally because you are no longer pulling yourself in opposing directions. Life feels simpler not because challenges disappear, but because resistance inside you does. When you are aligned, decision-making becomes clearer and faster. You are no longer negotiating with yourself about what to do because your standards are already set. Alignment creates a filter for choices. If something supports your values and direction, it stays. If it doesn't, it goes. This eliminates overthinking and reduces stress. Many people mistake business for productivity, but alignment reveals what actually matters. You stop filling your schedule with activities that look impressive but produce little progress. Your time becomes intentional, and intentional time compounds into meaningful results. Alignment also stabilizes your emotions. When you live out of alignment, you constantly seek validation because you are unsure of your direction. When alignment is present, approval becomes optional. You trust your path because it reflects who you are, not who you are trying to impress. This internal stability allows you to handle pressure without panic. You respond instead of react. You stay grounded when outcomes are delayed because your peace is not tied to immediate results. Alignment builds emotional resilience by anchoring your actions in purpose rather than mood. Energy increases when alignment is present. You may still work hard, but the work feels lighter because it is meaningful. Fatigue often comes from misalignment, not effort. When you do work that contradicts your values or ignores your strengths, every task drains you. Alignment replenishes energy because it connects effort to intention. Even challenges feel purposeful because they contribute to growth instead of confusion. This is why aligned individuals appear calm under pressure and focused during chaos. Their energy is conserved, not scattered. Alignment also attracts support without force. People, opportunities, and resources align with those who are consistent in who they are and what they stand for. You stop chasing and start being recognized. This does not happen because you demand attention, but because clarity is attractive. When your words and actions match, trust forms naturally. Others know what to expect from you, and reliability creates ease. Relationships become healthier because boundaries are clear and expectations are realistic. Life becomes easier in alignment because you stop living in contradiction. You are no longer saying one thing and doing another, wanting one outcome but acting in a different direction. Alignment creates coherence between thought, action, and intention. This coherence removes unnecessary struggle and replaces it with flow. Progress no longer feels like a fight. It feels like a continuation of who you already are, and the path forward becomes less about pushing and more about allowing consistency to do the work